If you remember the old Western movies, the good guys wore the white hats and the bad guys wore the black hats. Any more about Roosevelt? Deadly is the disease that he had, and Franklin Roosevelt, in all probability, had a disease called malignant melanoma. Once it gets out of the box and spreads to other areas of your body, it is almost invariably fatal. It's one of them. It is then considered, and now considered, the most malignant of all tumors. It was his secret, and it was very deadly. It was taken off very quietly. If you see it in the 30s, it looks like a big M&M over his left eye, and it just gradually disappeared, just a shadow. But there's no record of it whatsoever. It's been completely cleansed, completely covered up. The only information we have about it is one letter when a doctor wrote to his doctor in the early 1940s, and then he asked his medical voice, his physician, the presidential physician, Ross McIntyre, to send back a letter to this doctor, whose name was Reuben Peterson. He wrote back to Peterson that you can rest assured that this the lesion above the eye is not inflammatory and it is being carefully watched. And yet, all evidence of that removal, all evidence that it even existed, it has been 100% suppressed, and officially, it never happened. It was all about a matter of strength with him. It was all about a matter of image. I think it was part of his own image that the President of the United States should be a strong leader. Being sick was not part of that. He was transfused about 9 times, again, never acknowledged except for in a few letters between him and his wife. In 1941, we came within a very few drops of blood of President Henry Wallace, which would have been a very interesting historical scenario. But of all tumors that don't originate in the central nervous system, that is the brain and the spinal cord, none goes to the brain more than melanoma. And between 25 and 50% of people who have melanoma die of a brain hemorrhage. And in fact, on April 12, 1945, FDR died of a brain hemorrhage. And I was in neuropathology, and we were cutting brains, actually make slices of the brain, and we had one person with melanoma who had died of it. And it sort of registered in my mind that FDR probably did have melanoma. Then I did a lot of research, reading every biography I could find. Well, that's interesting that you asked that question about whether the physicians themselves can alter. Do they alter medical records sometimes? Yes, they do. These are not ordinary patients. These are public figures. They have the same health problems as you and I do. Remember, the presidency is, national security is kind of an important aspect of the presidency, and if the health of our leaders is a very important and a very sensitive issue. Franklin Roosevelt was always in a 100% control of everything that had to do with his health. And his doctor was simply someone who loved him, someone who cared for him, someone who was in his inner circle who took care of him. When something happened for his health, the president said, okay, make up something, but say something good, because we can't let anybody know what's really wrong with me. For instance, President Grover Cleveland in the 1890s had a major cancer surgery. Basically, they made up a story that he was going to his hunting lodge in Buzzards Bay, and they put him on a yacht in the middle of the East River, and they removed part of his jaw. And 3 weeks later, he was back, and nobody knew the difference. The medical landscape has changed so radically in the last 20 to 30 years. It's really a different practice. The golden age of medicine is gone. It's long gone. Anything else you want to talk about? Thank you, sir.